Welcome to the platform IZWI LABANSUNDU, the voice for the Africans. Today we are talking about the Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC, and its independence. As you guys would know that today, the 28th of June, the Democratic Republic of Congo is marking its 68th anniversary since independence. So I'm interested to hear your views. Do you think the Democratic Republic of Congo has achieved what it had sought to achieve when it was struggling for its independence? Do you think they've achieved what they wanted to achieve? If they've not achieved it, what do you think could be the reasons? What do you think could be the reasons why the DRC never got to achieve what it wanted to achieve? It never got to fulfill its full potential. Okay, guys, greetings. My name is Debos Kosana. So please help me grow this platform of mine. There's various ways that you can help me to grow the platform. Firstly, by subscribing to the platform, please go to the subscribe option and click on that subscribe option. After clicking on the subscribe option, please click on the notification bell. Click on that notification bell so that each time I publish a video, you'll then get a notification. You'll then receive a notification. And once you've received the notification, please make sure that you do watch the videos so the YouTube algorithm can then recommend the video to a much wider audience. Another way it is by joining to becoming a paying member. It's by joining to becoming a paying member to this platform. You can contribute 20 rands per month, just like Sfiso Banjo has done, and I must thank him. I cannot thank him enough for that. Please follow through as well. Another way, guys, is by buying us the super thanks, just like Sisno Tata did. Another way, guys, it is by watching the ads. Please make sure that you don't skip the ads that through the videos. It is important because those ads are another form that the platform is able to earn the revenue. It is important that the kind of platforms that we're trying to build, the platforms that we refer to as the alternative to the mainstream media, that such must get support and funding from ourselves as black people. Thank you, Sanjo, for joining in. Is it Sanjeev? Thank you for joining in, my brother. So it's important that we are able to fund our own platforms, so we are able to create platforms that are in a position to advance our own narrative, platforms that are able to tell our story our own way, because we know that the mainstream media, which is of course white owned and white controlled, gets to distort our history. It gets to distort our history. And we need to be able to rebut such things. We need to be able to rebut such things. So it's important that we must be able to fund and build our own platforms, right? Okay. So let's get into it, guys. So who killed Patrice Lumumba? Because you cannot talk about the DRC. We cannot talk about the Democratic Republic of Congo and its independence and what has become of the Democratic Republic of Congo without us talking about a very key figure, someone who's a very key figure in the history of the Democratic Republic of Congo and its own independence. That name is Patrice Lumumba. You see, so but let's first start about the Congo before independence. What was the Congo before independence? Of course, Congo was under the brutal colonial rule under King Leopold II from 1885 until 1908, when King Leopold II ruled ruled Congo. Because during the Berlin Conference, in fact, Belgium and the King Leopold, they were given the Congo the gift. You see, that's the arrogance of colonialism and what they did in that Berlin conference, right? So, King Leopold II of Belgium ruled Congo as his personal property. Do you get that? He ruled the democratic, or ruled that the Congo, that region, Congo, as his personal property under the name Congo Free State. The population in the Congo was subjected to slavery, forced labor, and horrific violence, especially in rubber harvesting. Surely for anyone who's not new to the African history, they cannot be surprised by what I'm saying here, because that's what most people in the African continent were subjected to under the rule of colonialism. An estimated, geez man, this is heartbreaking, an estimated 10 to 15 million Congolese died during this period due to exploitation, murder, and diseases. Now show me in the modern history or contemporary history where in a single country such a number of people died under the rule of colonialism. Show me any number that surpasses what happened in DRC. You see? So then the transition to Belgian Congo from 1908 to 1960, when the DRC achieved its independence, due to international outcry, Congo was handed over to the Belgian state, but conditions hardly improved, meaning the Congo was removed from being a personal property to King Leopold II. Then it was handed over to the Belgian state, the government of Belgium, right? No investment in education or infrastructure for the African population. By 1950, fewer than 20 Congolese held university degrees. Political activities were suppressed. White settlers had full control. This story sounds familiar, especially if you're from South Africa. You see how colonialism, through its different manifestations, treated the natives. Then the rise of African consciousness. In the 1950s, Congolese began forming political and cultural associations, demanding independence. Nationalist movements like Mouvement National Congolais, MNC, began gaining traction amongst the Congolese population. Then enters the figure called Patrice Lumumba during that period. The rise of Patrice Lumumba. His early life. Patrice Lumumba was born on July the 2nd in 1925 in Oluna, the Kasai province. He was a self-educated, fluent in French, and rose through the ranks as a clerk and postal worker. That is Patrice Lumumba. Became politically active and founded the MNC, Movement National Congolese in 1958. What was Patrice Lumumba and MNC's political vision? What was their political vision? They called for a united, secular, and independent Congo. Believed in African unity and economic independence, rejecting tribal and regional divisions. Sadly, as we speak now, Africa is still ravaged by these ills such as tribal and regional divisions. Became a leading voice at the 1958 All-African People's Conference, which was held in Accra, Ghana, hosted by the great Kwame Nkrumah. Then independence and Lumumba's famous speech on the 30th of June 1960. Congo achieved independence from Belgium in 1960. King Baudouin gave a condescending speech praising Belgian civilization as if the Congo achieved independence due to Belgian's civilization. Of course, that's white arrogance that we get to deal with almost every day. Lumumba's response stunned the world. He denounced the colonial oppression, torture, and economic theft, therefore becoming a symbol of African pride. That is Patrice Lumumba. But because of that speech, he became feared in the West. So the West fear of Lumumba. The West is why the Western world feared Patrice Lumumba. One, anti-colonial but not communist. Meaning Patrice Lumumba was anti-colonial but he was not communist. Patrice Lumumba wanted Congo to be independent of both the West and the Soviet Union. Because of course when you talk communism at the time, you're talking the Soviet Union. However, his refusal to align with Western capitalist interests made him a threat. The biggest fight, of course, has always been the control of the Congo's resources. Congo was and is still rich in uranium, gold, diamonds, copper, and cobalt. In fact, Congo, the DRC, is the richest country in the world in terms of the mineral resources beneath the soil. That's the DRC. As to how the DRC became the poorest country, despite it having been endowed with those mineral resources, it is indeed a tragedy. So Congo was and still is rich in uranium, gold, diamonds, copper, and cobalt. The United States, of course, the imperialist United States, Belgium, and the United Kingdom feared Congo falling under Soviet influence, especially during the Cold War. Then enters the CIA and Belgian concerns. The CIA labeled Patrice Lumumba as a mad dog who had to be eliminated. This is quoted from the CIA files. It is not made up. Belgium and the CIA orchestrated plans to undermine, discredit, and remove Patrice Lumumba. Of course, for them to do that, they had to find within, as has always been the case with us, the natives, the Africans, the black people, there's always sellouts amongst us. So they had to find a collaborator who looked like the people of Congo. Enters Mobutu Sese Seko. Mobutu, a Congolese officer, was supported as a proxy to neutralize Patrice Lumumba's power. Sounds familiar, right? Doesn't it? Lumumba's assassination on January 17, 1961, the political crisis and capture. After independence, Congo plunged into a crisis. The mineral-rich Katanga province seceded, backed by Belgium. Lumumba was dismissed by President Kasavubu, but refused to step down. He was eventually captured by Mobutu's forces, handed over to his enemies in Katanga. Then followed his brutal murder. On January 17, 1961, Patrice Lumumba was tortured, executed by firing squad, and his dismembered and dissolved in acid. Of course, we know recently only that remained that of Lumumba, it was his teeth, his tooth that was later on returned to DRC not so long ago. Belgian police officer Gerald Soweto later admitted to destroying Lumumba's remains. That's how much they feared him. They feared Lumumba even in his death, that they had to destroy even his body, dismember his body. International complicity. Who were the international forces who were complicit in this thing? The United Nations failed to intervene despite Lumumba being under the United Nations protection. Western powers, including Belgium, the United States, and France, under Eisenhower, were complicit or directly involved. So then later what got to become of the Congo after Lumumba's death? Mobutu's dictatorship from 1965 to 1997. Mobutu Sese Seko took power in a coup, renamed the country Zaire, and ruled for 32 years. He was propped up by the United States and Europe as a Cold War ally, despite corruption and repression. See, this tells you that never believe what the Western world, that includes the USA, when they tell that they are proponents of democracy. No. They'll support even dictators for as long as they get to benefit from those dictators. Congo's wealth continued to be plundered while the people remained in poverty. Unfortunately, 2025, that's still the case. The Congo wars and foreign exploitation. After Mobutu's fall, Congo faced years of civil war involving Rwanda, Uganda, and other neighboring countries. The role of Rwanda and Uganda in the destabilization and exploitation in the war in Congo is something that still needs to be said. The wars from 1996 to 2003 were driven by control of minerals, costing millions of lives. Multinational corporations, often Western, funded militias. Militias are the groups that operate in the country, that of course are the natives, but they get to be funded by these external forces. Funded militias in exchange for access to coltan, gold, and diamonds. And if you speak now, especially with the devices that we are using, that you and I are using, The mineral resources that are found in the Democratic Republic of Congo are a key component in the making of the devices that you and I are using. That's how important those minerals from the DRC are. Then the ongoing instability. Today, as we speak, 2025, the DRC remains politically unstable, militarized, and heavily indebted. Despite vast resources, the majority of Congolese people lived in abject poverty. The legacy and Pan-African lessons. Patrice Lumumba's legacy, he is a martyr of African independence and anti-imperialism, a symbol of courage, unity, and truth-telling in the face of colonial powers. Inspired movements in Ghana, Guinea, South Africa, and across the continent. While speaking even of South Africa, at some point when we established the Socialist Revolutionary Workers' Party, we got to name our branch where I reside after Patrice Lumumba. Our branch was known as the Patrice Lumumba branch. Neocolonialism is still alive, unfortunately. Lumumba warned that independence meant nothing. Independence meant nothing without economic liberation. Without economic liberation, it meant nothing. It meant nothing. And while we're still on the subject, go and read the book that talks about Patrice Lumumba's life, right? His biography and all that. There's a portion that I want to read that is interesting on the book that talks about Lumumba's death. Could we do otherwise? I quote, observers who happened to be in African capitals during the month of June 1960 could take note of a certain number of things, right? Could take note of a number of certain things. Strange personages who had come from a Congo which had just barely made its appearance on the international scene will turn up in ever greater numbers. What did these Congolese have to say? Right? What did these Congolese? They said whatever came into their heads, that Lumumba had sold out to the Ghanaians, that Kizenga had been bought by the Guineas, Kasharuma by the Yugoslavians, that the Belgian civilizers were leaving too soon, etc. But if one took into one's head to get one of these Congolese into a corner, to question him, right? Then one discovered that something very serious was being plotted against Congo's independence and against Africa. Close quote. This tells you that in the death of Lumumba, in the destabilization of the Congo, in the plunder and the looting. Hi, Monica Ditlhage. Hi, thank you for joining in. In the looting, in the destabilization of the DRC, African leaders, past and present, are involved, are part of that. You talk of Uganda, you talk of Rwanda under Paul Kagame. You see, just to amplify the point I'm raising about the involvement of these African leaders, especially Paul Kagame and others. Donald Trump yesterday tweeted, listen to this, right? Listen to this. I quote, this is what Donald Trump said, I quote, I am very happy that I have arranged, along with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a wonderful treaty between the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Republic of Rwanda. In their war, which was known for violent bloodshed and death, more so even than most other wars, and has gone on for decades. Representatives from Rwanda and the Congo will be in Washington on Monday. To sign documents. This is a great day for Africa and, quite frankly, a great day for the world. I won't get a Nobel Peace Prize for this. I won't get a Nobel Peace Prize for stopping the war between India and Pakistan. I won't get a Nobel Peace Prize for stopping the war between Serbia and Kosovo. I won't get a Nobel Peace Prize for keeping peace between Egypt and Ethiopia. Right. Close quote. I won't read through this, the whole thing that Donald Trump tweeted. So you see now, why would Donald Trump be using the likes of Paul Kagame in the matters that involve the Democratic Republic of Congo? It is because amidst the chaos and the destabilization, countries like the USA continue to benefit from what is happening in the DRC, and they sponsor those things such as the militias and stuff, to keep the destabilization going on in the DRC. So neocolonialism still lives. Lumumba warned that independence meant nothing without economic liberation. Today, African countries are still economically dominated by foreign corporations and IMF, World Bank policies, including South Africa. What is the role of African youth? Young Africans must study leaders like Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, and Amilcar Cabral. There is a growing need to build movements that resist neocolonialism, tribalism, and capitalist exploitation. So Pan-Africanism as a solution, unity among African nations, remains the only way to reclaim our full sovereignty as the African people. Calls for a united Africa, investment in homegrown industries, and Pan-African education are rising again. So it means, as Africans, we should be preoccupied with the ideas of building genuine movements that will unite Africa and resist imperialism and neocolonialism, because neocolonialism has found new means of exploiting Africa using people who look like us. You see. So I'm interested to hear your understanding of the Congo, its independence, the role played by Patrice Lumumba, and how he got to be killed, and how the West got to kill him and destabilize the DRC. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Please, guys, remember to subscribe, remember to like, share, and remember to join to become a paying member to the platform, and remember to buy us the super thanks. Thank you very much, Ma Africa. Siyabonga kakhulu, Ma Africa.